Engineers of Reddit, what's the most ridiculous idiot proofing you've had to add in your never-ending quest to combat stupid people? A paragraph in an owner's manual on not eating the broken glass from binoculars. But it pairs so well with paint chips. What the F happened there? I was asked to make a hydraulic oil pump nozzle drink proof. That's a fool's errand. The best you can hope for is drink resistant. Chemical engineer. Please do not crap in the test room. I wish I was joking, but it happened. My cousin is a chemical engineer. For weeks, they had contaminants in their product. I forget exactly what fixes they tried, but they eventually found out via security cams that one of the night shift maintenance workers was pissing into one of the chemical vats. I work in facilities maintenance. Someone put in a ticket for a malfunction and I found the power cord was frayed. Not my gear, so all I can really do is set it aside and have the biomed techs fix it. I put a zip tie through the holes in the prongs of the plug, put 2 nitrile glove on the plug, zip tied the gloves in place, and wrapped up the gloves with duct tape. I got a sheet of printer paper and wrote an operative. Do not use. Do not plug in, and taped it to the monitor. Couple hours later I get a ticket for another cow with frayed power cord sparking. It turned out to be the same cart, and one of the nurses cut the end of the gloves off, cut the zip tie in the end of the plug, and plugged it in, and it arced and tripped a breaker because of the frayed power cord. Web link. Cut the plug off. No doubt it needs fixing and can't be used unless the plug is replaced. The idiots will jam the wires directly into the outlet. I work on cars, so almost everything is designed around protecting people. My favorite is that we have to make the HVAC system louder and engine noise insulation worse because people will complain if they can't hear the systems running. We could make almost silent air ducts, but our warranty spend would go up. We could make almost silent air ducts, but our warranty spend would go up. Not only that, but the quieter you make one thing, the more noticeable and annoying other far more difficult to suppress squeaks and rattles become. There are amazing amounts of soundproofing and rattle prevention built into modern cars. My mother has OCD. She got a new Kia Sorento a few years back and loved it for how quiet it was, until the squeak started. I'd be driving with her, and she'd say, "That. Can't you hear it? It's driving me nuts." I had no idea what she was on about. She took it to the dealership, demanded they fix it. They had no idea what she was talking about. She had a mechanic sit in her car while she drove it, and he couldn't hear a thing. He sat in the driver's side and drove and actually could hear it then, but said it's just a normal noise the car makes. She went nuts. She's taken the car in to see multiple mechanics now, driven it out of town to see other dealerships, even tried to take it apart herself, all because the car was too quiet. She needs to turn the radio on. It's the same issue as when they banned smoking in UK pubs. Without the smoke smell to mask it, everybody realized pubs actually smell of sweaty people, stale beer and piss. Not good. We had a pedestrian bridge next to a bridge for vehicles, separated by about a 3 feet gap. The bridges were about 20 feet high over the water. So many drunk pedestrians climbed over the rails and tried to jump between bridges and didn't make it that I was directed to design a safety net to hang between the 2 bridges. In Toronto in 2016, a tow truck driver hopped the median to assist a disabled vehicle thinking the elevated roadway was continuously paved. She was wrong. She died. I once hopped over a small wall to take a piss behind it and woke up, flat on my back, looking at the stars. Turns out there was a 15-foot drop. Luckily there was an iron ladder that my head must have missed by inches on the way down, so I was able to get back up. After I'd had my piss. Unfortunately, after I'd climbed out, I realized I'd lost my watch and had to climb back down and grub through a pile of piss-soaked leaves to find it. Same watch fell off a few years later when I fell off my bike and broke both arms. I cycled very gingerly towards the hospital, then had to ride a mile back to look for it. Bad luck watch. What were we talking about? Whose idea was it to build a 3-foot jumping challenge? PFFT, only 3 feet. I'm betting tons of people made it and looked awesome doing it. Wife is a civil engineer. The one that came to mind for her was that she had to add to the specification of a construction contract that stated that workers would not drink the water that accumulated at the bottom of an excavation. Everyone knows that water is for disani. Can't have the workers dipping into their profit. I work remodeling small businesses. Our niche is we keep the business running while doing the remodel. I've caught people climbing over fences, ducking under moving heavy machinery, broke into locked doors, all to act surprised when we tell them this area is off limits and point to one of the 10 signs we posted. I'm a Mech intern. I walked in on my manager discussing a design with another engineer. All I heard was, so the guys will probably use that as a hammer, so I made it out of this stronger material. When they're working they will probably be throwing this small door open, so I used stronger hinges and added a stop. It's things like this that I really appreciate about my internship. I likely wouldn't have thought about that myself. One of my professors worked for years designing mining equipment and has on several occasions told us that every single design should be strong enough that the finished product can be used as a hammer without breaking, because it will always be used as a hammer. When I worked in a shop, the screwdriver that everyone considered the good screwdriver was the one that also doubled best as a hammer. When your only problem is a nail, all your tools look like hammers. I have one customer that takes our product, removes the battery packs, and solders them in backwards. He cuts the wires to the batteries, then solders red to black, and black to red. Then calls us complaining that they don't work. There is no idiot proofing that I can think of at this point. I pretty much just admit defeat now. Edit. Wow, this got big overnight. I'll answer a few questions here. We can't pot them, they have replaceable AA batteries in them. They're off warranty. Every time they come back in, we bill them. They don't seem to mind. And I'm so used to this guy's shenanigans, they don't take long to fix. That first one though. It took me forever to figure out that the power lines were reversed. It just never occurred to me. It's just not something you'd suspect. I sent him an email after a half a dozen or so of these came in backwards. Explained how red goes to red, black to black, with pictures. Only had one come in backwards after that. I've always wondered what would happen if this guy ever needed to jump his car. I've designed Rev 2 of the product, with this guy specifically in mind. They use a USB-C charge port and a Li-ion battery. No need to open it up and swap AA batteries now. We'll see how he responds to that. The big question, why? I have absolutely no idea what this dude is trying to accomplish. Your guess is as good as mine. That doesn't even sound like someone making a stupid but innocent mistake, that sounds very deliberate. Application engineer here. When handling a 3D laser scanner, it has to be placed and fixed on a stable tripod. A flat rail of a balcony is not a suitable substitute for it. And no, the insurance has not covered the total loss of the device after it fell from the 5th floor to the concrete pavement. Took the physical disable Wi-Fi button off laptops. Clearly marked, but people would still flip it and wonder why their Wi-Fi went off. I used superglue to jam one user switch in the on position since he could not follow instructions regarding not touching the switch. He complained that he could no longer turn Wi-Fi off to my boss. Boss came to me and said why? I showed him the 2 or 3 tickets a week for Wi-Fi not connecting from that one user. Boss noticed all the other similar tickets and said, superglue all of them. That guy sounds like a jackass. If he complained that he couldn't, then he should have clearly known about the switch. Yeah, he was a jackass. That company had a policy for who got which kind of laptops. Dev/IT top end, sales small and light, project managers mid-range, everyone else low end if you could get one at all, since it required special approval. A couple of weeks after supergluing all of those switches, I realized that jackass was really trying to get an upgrade from PM to Dev/IT laptop, or at least a new PM laptop, and was submitting tickets just to show that his was broken, and he needed a new one. He started submitting other tickets about slow/crashing/ etc. His was like 3 years old, and he was annoyed that new PMs had better PM laptops. Not to say that the Wi-Fi switch wasn't a problem. People were accidentally flipping it at times, but this jackass was doing it intentionally. I worked in a call center and all the PCs were slung on straps under the desks. I'd love to know which genius came up with that idea. So, people would be on the phone swinging back and forth in their chair and hit the power button. Then I'd get a ticket saying my modem keeps turning off. I disabled the power button from immediately shutting down the PC if you pressed it, but of course they'd get into a position sometimes where it'd be held down long enough to override it. Solution? Duct tape and a bottle cap. Once we upgraded all the PCs to new ones, I took the time to remove those stupid straps and put the PCs behind the monitor out of reach instead. Your solution was to stop people from touching the computer. It worked. Civil engineer here. While laying asphalt, usually we close the road and cover using barricade tapes. But no matter how hard we try, people always find ways to go through and ruin the whole process. Ultimately, we had to use security to block the roads. Saw a video on Reddit of someone driving past signs and orange barrels and men wearing reflective clothing and all that. Into wet cement. Edit. I think this is the incident I remembered, though this video is just the aftermath. YouTube link. Former combat engineer here. We built a 3-foot-high fence across minefield, including huge red warning triangles every 4 feet. Someone still stepped over it to go take a crap in the woods. They were carried out on a stretcher. Nothing is idiot-proof. The guys carrying the stretcher were probably crapping themselves too. Talk about explosive diarrhea. Years ago I worked as a building engineer, glorified maintenance man, for an office building that had endless complaints about the AC/heater not working. The staff in the office would adjust the thermostat up and down all day, and then everyone else would complain it was too hot or too cold. It did not matter what kind of lock or cage I put on it, they would break and remove within a day or two of a new one being installed. So I got a new thermostat with a remote sensor and installed it in my office with the remote sensor near where the old T-stat was, and I left the old T-stat in place with low voltage power so that it would appear to function. Then I let them change the temp on the old T-stat all they wanted while I programmed the real one in my office to our building standards. Poof, just like that the complaints were reduced by 90%. Reminds me of one of my first design jobs. Okay boss, I've got the design. The front footing needs to be 20 inches wide, the rear footing is 17 inches wide. So both of them are 20 inches. Why do we need a 20-inch if a 17-inch will work? Because that way we don't have to worry about the construction guys building a 17-inch front footing and a 20-inch rear footing. I work for the utility company, mainly in the distribution of natural gas. All the pipelines we put into the ground are either yellow, or black and yellow, and only gas is allowed to use yellow for their pipes. Some of them have natural gas printed on them in big bold letters. We put special tape about 20 centimeters above the pipeline to indicate that there is a gas pipeline below and whomever is digging there should be careful. All these precautions and warnings, and we still get daily incidents from idiots who were digging somewhere and hit a gas pipeline. An app which scans barcodes to recognize items. It runs on Android and uses the device's camera to handle the scanning bit. The number of times the question is asked, is this supported on secure cameraless devices? Or, our devices don't have cameras, and they don't have a barcode scanner. Can the app still work? Mechanical engineer. I work on systems that need to be light and durable, but the business guys want it cheap. This is a choose-two sort of situation, so you can probably guess what got dropped. I can't tell you how many times I've told the operators to not intentionally drop the product from 6 feet onto concrete. Can't get specific, since it's a very niche/classified market. Knew an engineer once who, when being obviously lame to by a salesperson, asked if the part in question had passed the balcony's test. Yes, the salesperson responded. So the engineer picked up the part in question, turned around and threw it off the balcony. Didn't pass. Industrial designer here. You have no idea how many pointers I have to add to the products I make. I had to add arrows to a product that had 2-piece THT the client could put together and remove for cleanup. It was designed so that it could only fit into one position, and it was made very obvious which position that was. Think a larger shape and hole. No, I still had to put 2 arrows in case people couldn't tell the bigger bump could only fit in the bigger gap. Ever write any software? The amount of error checking you have to do on any user input is phenomenal. No matter how much explanation you provide, users seem to be chimpanzees entering stuff seemingly at random. Software engineer who's training me right now, I can make an application that does exactly it needs to in about a month. The hard part is making it not do what you don't want it to do. That takes 6 months. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to be the first to know about Red Rabbit Reader's new videos. If you like our videos, please like them on YouTube and share them with your friends. We welcome your comments below. Press to start another of our videos.